Well, Ramdas and I have just written this book, about this, and we talk about that a lot. So basically, we worked together for 5 years, basically, and then we actually all went off in different directions. Um, at Harvard for the Harvard project sponsored projects for about a year or 2 years at the most, or 1 year actually, 1.5 years, and then while we were still at Harvard but living under Harvard's auspices, we started this organization called IFIF, the International Federation for Internal Freedom, to try to find ways to make the substances available to people. But see, events kind of overtook us because it became so public and sensationalized, and the university became more and more uncomfortable with it. And first of all, they stopped the project, university-sponsored project, and then they didn't even want us there. So they basically wanted to get rid of Larry and Albert and fire them. And they didn't really fire me because I was finished with my doctoral and my postdoctoral, and I wanted to leave. But they made it unpleasant for us to stay there. They didn't fire Leary either. Albert actually was the only one who was fired. But I don't mind being fired. I mean, it's much more interesting to have been fired than just to have graduated. How many people have graduated? Only a handful of people have been fired, so much more of a feather in my cap. But it was political, and Andrew Weil played a role in it, which he's talked about openly, because he was involved in the Harvard Crimson, and there was a kind of a strange interaction going about. But the university was basically uncomfortable with us being there. But Leary, it is often later on said, well, Leary was fired from Harvard for giving illegal drugs to students. That's totally not true. First of all, he wasn't fired. He wasn't giving illegal drugs to students. The drugs were legal that we were using, and plus we weren't giving them to students. We may have given them to one or two students, but that was mostly the people we were working with were graduate students, our own friends and families and other people, but it was a political thing. Leary, characteristically didn't have any hard feelings about it. He said, the universities are guardians of the tradition. They're not involved in the business of expanding the tradition or starting something new, expanding beyond. He used to say that, I like this line, to expect a university like Harvard to sponsor research on consciousness expansion is like expecting the Vatican to sponsor research on aphrodisiacs. That's not the business that they're in, you see, not having more powerful experiences. So we were, and I didn't mind leaving. I remember having conversations with professors who said, "Why are you doing that? You could have any job, with a Harvard PhD." And I know that meant I could go to Iowa State University and get an assistant professorship and go a 10-year track. And I couldn't convey to him how completely, by that time, uninterested I was in doing that. Because this other work, seemed so vastly much more interesting and promising. And it wasn't reckless. It wasn't about people having fun or giving drugs to undergraduates. Undergraduates gave us drugs, for Pete's sake. An undergraduate turned me on to pot. They got their own drugs. They didn't need us to give them drugs. They had the supplies. Mescaline could easily be bought by anyone on the open market at that time. It wasn't illegal. The other drugs weren't illegal. The supply of psilocybin ended, I haven't seen psilocybin since the Harvard days. It's not an underground drug at all. So anyway, then we had this psychedelic training center in Mexico. We had a hotel we rented in Mexico, in Zihuatanejo, on the beach, and we went there for 2 years, actually, one time in the summer, just our own research project of about 20 people, experimenting ourselves. That's where we wrote and tested out the Tibetan Book of the Dead, psychedelic experience, that manual, testing the manual, developing it. And then the second year, we opened it up to the public. Again, this was perfectly legal. There's nothing illegal about it. But by that time, it had already become really well known. So people could come down there for a month and have psychedelic experiences guided in a safe setting. We were collecting information as much as we could, and it was immensely popular. We had hundreds of people. We were oversubscribed because by that time it was so well known. But then, after about 2 weeks, I think, or 3 weeks down there. We were ousted by the Mexican authorities because by that time various behind-the-scenes manipulations had taken place, and it was just too uncomfortable for them as well, probably with pressure. Nobody knows for sure exactly all the political machinations that went on behind it. We tried for a short time to salvage the program because we had all these people signed up who wanted to take the program, had already paid and everything, to salvage the program by setting it up in the Caribbean on the island of Antigua. But that didn't work either. So then we had, and that was, that was like, it was heating up. There were scare articles about LSD and psychedelics in the newspaper almost every day, and Life magazine and all these things. And there were congressional hearings, and Leary tried to put forward the idea that these substances should not be just distributed randomly to everybody. There should be some kind of training and licensing, just like driving a car or an airplane. You have to be trained. You have to know that what you're doing and show that you can be responsible in the handling of these powerful tools and all of that. They didn't want to hear that. They just did not want to hear that. We were given. So we couldn't work with the drugs anymore, and we couldn't get them. We tried to order a supply of 1 million doses from Sandoz, but then on Harvard stationery. But that was a last-ditch effort that Harvard had the discourtesy to check with, Sandoz had the courtesy to check with Harvard first whether they approved of this purchase. Plus the check bounced anyway. We didn't have the money. So then the strategy was, well, we'll just tell people how to use them. You're on your own getting them. But if you want to learn how to use them, we had written the book. And we were able to find this estate in Milbrook, New York, upstate Milbrook, New York, through the Hitchcock brothers and through Peggy Hitchcock. It's a huge estate. And then we started something called the Castellio Foundation, which gave weekend workshops in consciousness expansion without drugs, and but using yoga and meditation and sensory and audio-visual things, and did a lot of stuff with audio-visual, sound, multimedia kinds of presentations to simulate the experiences. And we did our own work, with each other, developing community, and sort of like Esalen. It was actually simultaneously with Esalen on the West Coast, developing the human potential movements and encounter groups. And it's also interesting to realize that there was another whole psychedelic movement taking place on the West Coast that we had nothing to do with. It was a little different focus. See, our focus was more intellectual, conceptual, scientific, and spiritual. Their approach was more just creative, just enhancing creativity. So they would do the electric Kool-Aid acid test with a couple of thousand people, on the Grateful Dead and slideshows. And when I first came to one of those, I was shocked. I was shocked. It was just like, you can't possibly take this in groups of 2,000 people. We used to take it in groups of a dozen at most, or less than 10 at the most, with a very kind of intimate, quiet, meditative framework. And this is like 2,000 people rocking and dancing, and but hey, it worked, and I think that's a cultural it's a cultural reinvention of the Dionysian rituals of ancient times. They weren't drunken orgies. There wasn't any violence. And there was violence later on, but that was already methamphetamine and all kinds of stuff like that. But with these Avalon Ballroom, these kind of events with the Grateful Dead, or later on too, the Dead continued. They're not violent things. They're not drunken. People aren't drinking and staggering around and having to be carted off. And they're just people dancing. I can't see anything wrong with that. Same with the raves. I can't see any harm in that. People aren't harming. People don't know how to take precautions. They don't do it to one another. They're doing it themselves. What's the harm? How can it possibly harm people? If it was so harmful, wouldn't we be seeing lots more dead people and deranged people around who've been driven mad and toxic by their MDMA experiences? Anyway,
No,
that's the short story.
Yeah.